My name is Evelyn, and every New Year's Eve, I make the same promise to myself. This year will be different. But as the clock ticks closer to midnight, I always find myself standing in the same place. Alone on the balcony, watching fireworks explode over the city, wondering if anything will ever really change. This year, the air is colder than usual. The city below is alive with celebration, but up here, it's just me and the echo of old memories. I clutch a mug of tea, my hands trembling not from the cold, but from the weight of everything I'm carrying. Behind me, laughter spills from the living room where my family gathers, but I can't bring myself to join them. Not yet. I think about all the resolutions I've made and broken. The promises to be braver, to speak up, to finally put myself first. Every year, I start with hope, and every year, I end up right back here, watching the world move on without me. But tonight, something feels different. Maybe it's the way the city lights shimmer on the wet pavement, or the way the wind whispers through the trees. Maybe it's just that I'm tired of waiting for my life to begin. As the countdown begins inside, I close my eyes and make a new promise. Not to change everything overnight, but to take one small step. To choose myself, just once. The clock strikes midnight. Fireworks burst in the sky, painting the darkness with color, and for the first time, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, this year could be the start of something new. The first morning of the new year arrives quietly. I wake before the sun, the city still wrapped in a soft gray mist. My family is asleep, the house silent except for the gentle hum of the heater. I sit at the kitchen table, tracing circles on my mug, replaying last night's promise in my mind. I scroll through my phone, flooded with messages, friends posting their resolutions, photos of parties, captions full of hope and glitter. I want to feel that hope, too, but all I feel is the ache of another year, starting with the same old doubts. My mother comes in, her robe pulled tight, hair still messy from sleep. She smiles, but her eyes are tired. "Happy New Year, Ev," she says, pouring herself coffee. "Did you make a wish at midnight?" I nod, not trusting myself to say more. She sits across from me, her hands wrapped around her cup. You know, every year I tell myself things will get easier. But life just keeps going, doesn't it? I look at her, really look, and see the lines on her face, the quiet resignation in her voice. For a moment, I wonder if she ever felt the way I do now, caught between hope and habit, longing for change, but afraid to reach for it. After breakfast, I slip out for a walk. The streets are empty, the world washed clean by last night's rain. I breathe in the cold air, letting it fill my lungs. And for the first time in a long time, I feel awake. I don't know what this year will bring. But as I walk beneath the pale winter sky, I decide that maybe, just maybe, I can be the one thing that changes. The days after New Year's pass in a blur of routine. I return to work, slipping back into the rhythm of emails, meetings, and polite small talk. My coworkers chatter about their resolutions, new diets, gym memberships, plans to travel. I nod along, but inside, I feel like I'm moving through water, everything slow and heavy. At night, I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying old conversations in my mind. I think about the dreams I used to have. Writing a novel, traveling alone, learning to play the piano. Somewhere along the way, those dreams faded, replaced by responsibilities and the quiet pressure to keep everyone else happy. One evening, as I'm leaving the office, my friend Julia catches up to me in the parking lot. She's always been bolder than I am. Her laughter loud, her opinions louder. "Evelyn, you coming to the cafe tonight? A bunch of us are going. You should come." I almost say no, the way I always do, but then I remember my promise, to take one small step. I force a smile. "Yeah, I'll come." The cafe is warm and crowded, the air thick with the smell of coffee and cinnamon. Julia introduces me to her friends, and for a while, I let myself relax. I listen to their stories, their plans for the year, their excitement. I realize how long it's been since I let myself be part of something, instead of just watching from the sidelines. When I get home that night, my cheeks are flushed from laughter, my heart lighter than it's been in months. I stand in front of the bathroom mirror, studying my reflection. For the first time in a long time, I see someone who might be ready for change. The next weekend, I find myself standing in front of a small music shop on Main Street. The window is fogged from the cold, but inside, I can see rows of gleaming pianos and guitars, the promise of music hanging in the air. I hesitate on the sidewalk, my breath clouding in front of me. I almost turn away, old habits tugging at my sleeve, but then I remember my promise. I step inside. The bell above the door jingles, and a kind-faced woman greets me. "Looking for anything special?" she asks. I clear my throat, feeling suddenly shy. I've always wanted to learn piano, but I never had the chance. She smiles, her eyes warm. "It's never too late to start. We have beginner classes. You could try one this week, if you'd like." I nod, surprised by my own courage. She hands me a flyer, and I tuck it into my coat pocket like a secret. As I leave the shop, I feel a spark of something I haven't felt in years. Possibility. That night, I tell my mother about the class over dinner. She looks surprised, then pleased. "I always wanted to play, too," she says softly. But life got in the way. I wonder how many dreams she set aside for the sake of everyone else. I wonder if I'm brave enough to do things differently. Later, as I lie in bed, I listen to the city outside my window. The distant hum of cars, the soft whistle of the wind. I close my eyes and imagine my fingers on the keys, the first notes of a song that's all my own. The first piano class is on a rainy Thursday evening. I almost cancel twice. Once because I'm tired, and once because I convince myself I'll embarrass myself in front of strangers. But I go anyway, clutching the flyer in my hand like a lifeline. The classroom is small and bright, filled with the gentle sound of hesitant notes. There are 6 of us, all adults, all beginners. The teacher, Mr. Bennett, is patient and encouraging. He shows us how to find middle C, how to let our hands relax, how to play a simple melody. My fingers stumble. My notes are uneven, but I don't care. For the first time in years, I'm doing something just for me. I catch myself smiling as I play, the music shaky but real. After class, I walk home in the rain, my hair damp, my heart full. I text Julia, telling her about the lesson. She replies instantly, "Proud of you, Ev! Next time, play something for us." At home, my mother is waiting up. She asks how it went, and I tell her everything. The nerves, the mistakes, the small triumphs. She listens, her eyes shining with something like pride. As I get ready for bed, I realize that change doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. Sometimes, it's just a quiet decision to show up, even when you're scared. That night, I dream of music, soft, uncertain, but beautiful all the same. The weeks slip by, each one a little brighter than the last. I settle into a new rhythm. Work, piano class, coffee with Julia, quiet evenings spent reading or writing in my journal. The city feels different, as if I'm finally seeing it in color after years of gray. At work, I start volunteering for small projects I used to avoid. I speak up in meetings, sharing ideas I once kept to myself. My boss notices, offering encouragement. "You're coming out of your shell, Evelyn. It suits you." One Saturday, Julia invites me to a small gathering at her apartment. I almost say no, but then I remember my promise. I go, and for the first time, I bring my own story to the conversation. I talk about piano, about my dreams, about the things I want for myself. The others listen, nodding, sharing their own hopes and fears. Later that night, as I walk home beneath the city lights, I realize I'm not as alone as I thought. There are people who see me. Not just the version I show the world, but the real me, the one who's learning to hope again. At home, my mother is waiting up, a mug of tea in her hands. She asks about my night, and I tell her everything. She smiles, a little wistful. "I'm glad you're finding your way, Evie. I wish I'd been braver when I was your age." I squeeze her hand, feeling the weight of her words. Maybe it's not too late for either of us. Spring arrives slowly, the city shaking off its winter gloom. I find myself looking forward to each new day, searching for small moments of joy. A patch of sunlight on my desk, the first green buds on the trees, the gentle sound of rain against my window. At piano class, my fingers grow more confident. Mr. Bennett encourages me to try a simple song for the group recital next month. The thought terrifies me, but also excites me. I agree, my heart pounding. One evening, Julia and I sit on a park bench, watching the world go by. She asks about my family, about the way I always seem to carry their worries on my shoulders. I hesitate, then tell her the truth. How I've spent years putting everyone else first. How I'm afraid to disappoint them. How I'm learning to choose myself. She listens quietly, then says, "You deserve to be happy, Evelyn. You deserve to live your own story." Her words settle deep inside me, like seeds waiting to bloom. That night, I write in my journal, "This year, I will not apologize for wanting more." As I close the notebook, I feel a quiet strength growing inside me, a promise to myself that I won't let fear keep me small. The days leading up to the recital are filled with nerves. I practice every evening, my fingers stumbling over the same notes, my heart racing with every mistake. My mother listens from the kitchen, humming along, sometimes offering gentle encouragement. "You're getting better, Ev, I can hear it." On the night of the recital, I stand backstage, my hands cold and clammy. The small auditorium is filled with strangers and a few familiar faces. Julia in the front row, waving, my mother beside her, eyes shining with pride. When my name is called, I walk to the piano, my legs trembling. I sit, take a deep breath, and let my fingers find the keys. The first notes are shaky, but as the melody unfolds, I lose myself in the music. For a few minutes, the world falls away. There is only the song, the soft light, and the feeling of finally doing something just for me. When I finish, there's a moment of silence, then applause. I look up and see Julia beaming, my mother wiping away a tear. I smile, a real, unguarded smile, and bow. Afterward, Julia hugs me tight. "You did it, Evelyn! I'm so proud of you." My mother squeezes my hand. "You were wonderful. I wish your father could have seen you." For the first time, I don't feel like I'm living in someone else's shadow. I feel seen, not for what I do for others, but for who I am. That night, as I fall asleep, I realize I'm not just surviving this year. I'm starting to live. The weeks after the recital feel lighter, as if a weight I've carried for years has finally lifted. At work, I'm offered a chance to lead a small project, a challenge I would have shied away from before. This time, I say yes. I spend late nights planning, organizing, and for the first time I trust my own ideas. Julia notices the change in me. "You're different, Iv. Happier. Braver." I laugh, surprised by how true it feels. At home, my relationship with my mother shifts. We talk more about her dreams, her regrets, the things she never did, because she was always taking care of everyone else. One evening, she confides, "Sometimes I wonder what my life would have been if I'd chosen myself, even once." I reach for her hand. "It's not too late, Mom. Maybe we can both start now." We make a pact to do one thing each month just for ourselves. She signs up for a painting class at the community center. I plan a weekend trip to the coast, just me and my journal. On the drive to the ocean, I roll down the windows and let the salty air fill the car. I walk along the shore, the waves cold against my ankles, and feel a sense of freedom I've never known. That night, I write, "I am not responsible for everyone else's happiness. I am allowed to choose my own." As the tide rolls in, I realize that change isn't a single moment. It's 1,000 small choices made every day. Summer arrives, and with it, a sense of possibility I haven't felt in years. My days are filled with new experiences. Weekend hikes with Julia, lazy afternoons at the piano, quiet evenings spent reading on the porch with my mother. We share stories, laughter, and sometimes tears, both of us learning how to let go of old patterns. At work, my project is a success. My boss praises my leadership, and for the first time, I believe I deserve it. I start to imagine a future where I'm not just drifting through life, but actually steering it. One evening, Julia invites me to a rooftop party. The city glows beneath us, the air warm and electric. I meet new people, share my story, and realize how far I've come from the girl who used to hide in the corners of every room. As midnight approaches, I find myself alone for a moment, looking out over the city lights. I think about the promises I made on New Year's Eve, about the small steps that led me here. I feel proud, not because everything is perfect, but because I finally showed up for myself. When I get home, my mother is waiting up. She tells me about her painting class, how she's made new friends, how she feels alive in a way she hasn't in years. We sit together in the quiet, two women learning to choose themselves one day at a time. Before bed, I write in my journal. This is what hope feels like. Soft, steady, and real. As autumn approaches, the city shifts. Leaves turning gold, the air growing crisp. I find comfort in the changing seasons, in the way life moves forward whether we're ready or not. My days are full but peaceful, each one a small victory over the fear that used to hold me back. At work, I'm offered a promotion. The old Evelyn would have hesitated, worried she wasn't good enough. But now, I accept with quiet confidence, knowing I've earned this. My team celebrates with coffee and pastries, and I let myself enjoy the moment, no longer shrinking from my own success. At home, my mother and I grow closer. We cook together, try new recipes, and talk late into the night. She tells me stories from her youth. Dreams she once had, adventures she never took. I listen, realizing how much of her life was spent making sure everyone else was okay. One evening, she turns to me, her eyes shining. "I'm proud of you, Evelyn. Not just for what you've done, but for who you're becoming." Her words settled deep in my heart, healing old wounds I didn't know I still carried. Julia and I plan a weekend getaway to the mountains. We hike, laugh, and share secrets under the stars. I tell her about my fears, my hopes, the way I'm learning to trust myself. She squeezes my hand. "You're not alone, Ivy. You never were." As I fall asleep that night, I realize that real change isn't about becoming someone new. It's about finally allowing yourself to be who you've always been. Winter returns, bringing with it the hush of snow and the glow of holiday lights. The city feels softer, wrapped in a quiet that makes every moment feel sacred. I spend evenings at the piano, my fingers moving with more confidence, the music filling our small apartment with warmth. My mother and I decorate the tree together, laughing as we untangle old ornaments and share memories of years gone by. There's a gentleness between us now, a mutual understanding that wasn't there before. We've both learned to let go of guilt, of regret, of the need to be everything for everyone. At work, I organize a holiday charity drive, rallying my team to collect gifts for families in need. The old Evelyn would have worried about doing it perfectly, about pleasing everyone. Now, I focus on the joy of giving, on the simple act of kindness. Julia invites me to her family's holiday dinner. I almost say no, afraid of being an outsider, but she insists. "Your family, too, Iv?" Surrounded by laughter and warmth, I realize how much love I've let into my life simply by opening the door. On New Year's Eve, I find myself once again on the balcony, the city sparkling below. But this time, I'm not alone. My mother stands beside me, Julia on my other side. We watch the fireworks together, our arms linked, our hearts full. As midnight approaches, I close my eyes and make a new promise. Not to be perfect, not to fix everything, but to keep choosing myself, one day at a time. When the clock strikes 12, I whisper, "Thank you." To the year that changed me, and to the woman I'm finally becoming. The new year dawns with a gentle light, and for the first time, I wake up feeling at peace. There's no rush, no pressure to become someone else overnight. I make coffee, sit by the window, and watch the world outside slowly come alive. My mother joins me, her hair still tousled from sleep. We sit in comfortable silence, sharing the quiet joy of a fresh start. She tells me about her plans for the year. More painting, maybe a trip to the coast. Small adventures she's finally allowing herself to dream about. I think about my own hopes. I want to write more, to travel, to keep learning new things. I want to keep building a life that feels like mine, not just a collection of obligations and expectations. At work, I start mentoring a new colleague, someone who reminds me of myself a year ago, nervous, eager, unsure. I tell her what I've learned. You don't have to do it all. It's okay to ask for help. You're allowed to take up space. Julia and I plan a spring road trip, mapping out stops along the coast, laughing over playlists and snacks. I realize how much I've grown, how much lighter life feels when you let go of the need to be everything for everyone. One evening, as I play a simple song on the piano, my mother listens from the doorway. She smiles, her eyes soft. You sound happy, Evelyn. I pause, letting the words sink in. I am, Mom. I really am. Spring arrives in a rush of color. Cherry blossoms lining the streets. Sunlight streaming through my window, the world waking up after a long sleep. I feel that same awakening inside myself. A quiet excitement for what's ahead. Julia and I set out on our road trip, the car packed with snacks, music, and the promise of adventure. We drive along winding coastal roads, stopping at small towns, laughing until our sides ache. We talk about everything, our fears, our dreams, the ways we're both learning to let go of the past. One afternoon, we find a quiet beach and walk along the shore, the waves cold against our feet. Julia turns to me, her voice gentle. Do you ever regret it, Eve? Choosing yourself. I think for a moment, watching the horizon. Sometimes it hurts, I admit, but I don't regret it. For the first time, I feel like I'm living my own life. Not just the life everyone else expected from me. She nods, understanding in her eyes. You're braver than you think. We sit in the sand, letting the wind tangle our hair, and I realize how far I've come. I'm not the same woman who stood on the balcony last New Year's Eve, afraid to take up space. I'm stronger now, softer too, and more willing to believe that I deserve happiness. That night, as we watch the stars appear one by one, I make a quiet promise to myself. I will keep choosing this life, no matter how hard it gets. When we return from the road trip, everything feels a little different, like the world has shifted, making room for new possibilities. I bring that sense of freedom home with me, letting it color my days. At work, I take on a new challenge, leading a team on a project I once would have been too afraid to try. There are setbacks and moments of doubt, but I remind myself that growth is never easy. My boss notices my determination and tells me, "You're inspiring others, Evelyn. Don't stop now." At home, my mother's paintings fill the apartment with color. She invites me to her first art show at the community center, and I watch as she stands in front of her work, proud and a little nervous. Afterward, she hugs me tightly. Thank you for showing me it's never too late to start over. Julia and I keep exploring new restaurants, hidden parks, late night conversations about everything and nothing. Our friendship is a constant reminder that family can be chosen, that love can be simple and true. One evening, I sit at the piano, playing the song from my first recital. My mother listens, her eyes shining with pride. You've changed, Evie. You're not afraid anymore. I smile, feeling the truth of her words. I'm still afraid sometimes. But I don't let it stop me. As the days grow longer and the world bursts into bloom, I realize that happiness isn't a destination. It's a series of small, brave choices made every day. Summer fades into autumn once more, and as the leaves begin to turn, I find myself reflecting on the year that's passed. I think about the woman I was last New Year's Eve, standing alone on the balcony, afraid to hope for more. I think about every small step, every moment I chose myself, every time I let go of guilt and reached for something new. On the anniversary of that night, I return to the same balcony. The city glows beneath me, fireworks blooming in the distance. But this time, I'm not alone. My mother stands beside me, her hand in mine. Julia is there too, laughter in her eyes. We raise our glasses, toasting to the year behind us and the one ahead. I close my eyes and breathe in the cool night air, feeling gratitude settle deep in my bones. I know there will still be hard days, moments of doubt, times when old fears try to creep back in. But I also know I am stronger now, braver, kinder to myself, and more willing to believe that I deserve happiness. As midnight approaches, I make a new promise. Not just for the year ahead, but for every day that follows. I will keep choosing myself. I will keep building a life that feels true. I will keep loving the people who love me back. And I will never again apologize for wanting more. The clock strikes 12. Fireworks light up the sky, and I step into the new year with hope, with courage, and with the quiet certainty that this time, everything really can be different.